Welcome to a bonus episode of Flavor Text, an extension of the Max Level podcast brought to you by OP Seat. Whether you're a master or grandmaster, you can't go wrong with OP Seat, the official gaming chair of Level Down Games. Upgrade your battle station today with OP Seat, the best chairs in the business. Be sure to subscribe to the Max Level podcast on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app of choice to hear a brand new episode every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern. On today's bonus episode of Flavor Text, the crew discusses Apple Arcade and their hype levels for a system such as this. Support us by clicking that subscribe button, hit the like, turn notifications on, and drop us a comment down below. All right, so we're doing something special. We're doing a bonus episode, so to speak, of Flavor Text. This isn't really a Flavor Text, but we're doing a bonus style Max Level podcast discussion this week. And I wanted to do this because I want to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak, about Apple Arcade. Sean, you were a big, obviously joined by Frank and Sean as usual, but you were a big proponent of Google Stadia. You were really digging what we saw last week when we talked about it during the Max Level podcast. You were hyped on Google Stadia. Are you just as hyped on Apple Arcade after seeing what they decided to announce?
So a lot of people want to compare the two. Naturally, I don't think they are comparable.
They're totally different services. They're totally different things.
Words, I don't know.
Something like that. Something like that.
I think seriously, the problem is that people are going to try to make these two go up against each other, and they can't. It's a different model, right? So when you're on Stadia, you're trying to get mainline titles, and you're trying to capture a whole piece of the market, if you will, right? So you want to have equal share in all different parts of gaming. Apple's not doing that. Apple's doing what we would want them to do, which I'm excited about. They've partnered with a bunch of different studio and developer type companies to come out with games that fit their platform that already exists. And then also they're releasing a big catalog with their announcement. And so we were really, really down on Google for that because we thought, okay, well, what's on Stadia? You know, all you have is Assassin's Creed on there, which is fine, but that's already been out.
And
so we know that's more of a tech demo.
Doom Eternal, they did showcase a little bit.
Yeah, but there's not a huge market for that.
No,
in my opinion.
For Doom?
That's a niche.
Yes,
that's a niche game, in my opinion. But obviously, they've got a fan here. But for me, partnering with big studios like Sega, Platinum Games, Devolver Digital, Konami, these studios are experienced, and you want to bring in big time experienced studios when you're launching a new type of service or platform. And you know, honestly, that's been the knock on Apple gaming that I've had so far is all the games are like these up and comers or B-rate studios, and the games showcase that. They have a lot of knockoffs type style games on Apple. And,
it's so, the worst, man. The Apple Store is the worst with that shit.
So definitely I'm stoked. And I'm stoked because the games actually look very good.
Yeah.
You know, people think mobile games are horrible as far as like graphics or like the ability of the phone to process them and power. They've come a long way, and these actually look like games that could be on Nintendo Switch right now. With the screenshots that I've seen and the gameplay that I would imagine represents, you know, the entire game that maybe people have seen out there, the hype is real. You know, I don't know 100% what's been released. I've just been reading articles, but I can imagine that the games look as good as they play, if that's a good way to explain it. Maybe not. Maybe a better way of saying it is maybe the graphics represent the game how it should look, and it's not like some souped up like promo art deal, because it looks like a lot of these shots are taken straight from game from what I've seen.
Right. And they are. Now, Apple Arcade is coming fall 2019. It's not out yet. And as Sean mentioned there, it is not to be going up against Google Stadia. It is not a streaming service. It is a place where gamers can download and play titles from the App Store for a monthly fee, and you can play those offline. So it's this entirely separate thing, you know, if you go like to the App Store now, you have to buy an individual game and then you can play it. Like there's one price per game, you download it, then you play it. Apple Arcade is moving to that, and we say it so often, but that Netflix style of gaming, where they're going to have a library of games available for one monthly price. And they did say it'll be a low price. It's not going to be expensive. For one price, you can download these games and tag them to play offline as well as online, but it is not a streaming service. You are downloading the games to your device, whether that is a mobile device like an iPhone, whether that's a tablet, whether that is a Mac computer. I'm hoping it comes elsewhere because I don't have access to any of those three. I don't have an iPad, an iPhone, or a Mac. But I would love to still be able to actually use Apple Arcade. If I have to, I'll get an iPad to be able to play the games. But yeah, they are, like you mentioned, Sean, they are focusing on a different crowd. Up to 6 family members can play without limits. There's no ads. There's no in-app purchases that you have to worry about in these games. They're strictly full experience games running on Apple Arcade, and they are partnering with actual good studios, like you mentioned, and good games, so to speak, and games that we've seen, like The Pathless from Annapurna Interactive. We saw that during the Game Awards last year. That one looks freaking awesome. Team Sonic Racing, it's going to be on there. Apple Arcade. Beyond a Steel Sky from Revolution Software. Oceanhorn 2, Knights of the Lost Realm, which is the Zelda style game. Oceanhorn really looked like a Link to the Past meets Ocarina of Time. Oceanhorn 2 looks kind of like Breath of the Wild. They really are just kind of making their game as if it was
hey, if it works,
Zelda.
you know?
Exactly. If it works, it works. But I think the exciting thing here is that people that you wouldn't expect to be on board with this, like Hironobu Sakaguchi, the father of Final Fantasy, is coming out with a brand new game for Apple Arcade that'll only be found on Apple Arcade. And the name of that game is Fantasian. So we are getting these things that, you know, it sounds promising. Apple Arcade, much like we talked about in the Max Level podcast about Google Stadia, Frank mentioned that it was only going to be United States and Europe at the time of launch. Apple Arcade is going to be available in more than 150 countries this fall. So they are not just targeting the major markets, they are targeting as many markets as they possibly can. And, you know, the amount of logos that they showed off during the press conference, so to speak, what this was: Disney, Sega, Lego, Konami, Night School Studios. That's After Party right there, folks. Annapurna, Skybound, you know, the team that picked up the Walking Dead.
It's nice they got a good mobile company like Konami to help them out too.
Yeah, that's all Konami is right now, is a mobile company. But Devolver Digital, Cartoon Network, Platinum, all these different, and Cartoon Network would be like Adult Swim games. But you have all these studios on board doing things with Apple Arcade. This is much more up my alley and much more what I wanted. And, you know, Google Stadia, again, that's just not the type of market that I'm looking for right now. I much prefer to play my core game experiences on a PS4 or a Switch or an Xbox One. I can see, again, as we talked about there in the podcast, I could see how Stadia appeals to a certain sect of people, especially those that have the technological capabilities to take advantage of it with their data caps and their internet speeds and all the BS that we mentioned during the show last week. But this is definitely much more easier to access. Everyone, at least most people, can access the iOS store and download a game. I had an iPhone for many, many years, and I downloaded many mobile titles on the App Store. Very easy to do. You don't need, you know, unlimited data caps. You don't need unlimited internet speeds to be able to take advantage of that. And you don't need it for Netflix, which again is really what this service is being compared to for gaming, though Apple is trying to go for the jugular on Netflix as well with their new TV service, which has several exclusive shows, just like we talked about. Everyone's jumping in. Apple, though, really is doing something special with their Apple TV Plus. I don't think it's going to work out as well as everyone wants it to right away, but it's a step in the right direction for them. So I think there's much more to be excited about with Apple Arcade, especially if studios really start making exclusive games. You know, let's be honest, there's a ton of exclusive mobile games. I know we're not huge fans of mobile gaming here, but there's a ton of exclusive mobile games, so much so that I've recently having to start playing mobile games to, to still get to access to franchises I love, like Breath of Fire, which only comes out on mobile now. Or you look at the Star Ocean game that came out last year, or if we look at Nintendo, Dragalia Lost, which was a fantastic game. Like, there's a lot of exclusive mobile titles out there now. If these teams can start making exclusive games for Apple Arcade, they have a huge selling point. I really think this is going to do well.
5 major competitors now
In terms of gaming?
Yeah, Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to name them all. We have 5 major competitors now. This is actually going to be pretty awesome if they all get exclusives.
Yeah, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Apple, Google. But that's not it. We're still waiting on Amazon. Amazon is the last piece. There's going to be a 6th. Amazon, it will be there eventually.
And the 7th will show up as Walmart, but
I hope not. I don't think it will. I think Walmart, I think that was just a rumor that actually is not going to pan out. But we do know Amazon is working at something because they have their own first-party studios.
They tied in with a Sam's Club membership. Forget about it.
No. Maybe Amazon tying it into a Sam's Club membership. Sure. Amazon and Walmart together.
Ooh.
No.
I'll tell you, the fear I have is accessibility. Now, you're going to laugh at me because we just said that everyone can get on Apple. And yeah, in some way, form, you can. But let's face it, some mobile titles play better on a big screen and some play better on a small screen. So when you're looking at Apple, they have games that work really well on iPad. They have games that work really well on their Macs. And then they have games that work very well on the iPhone. And it's a different beast, every single one of them, right? So you look at interface, you look at playability, as far as power, some of them require a little more juice. As far as like your phones, like, how is this going to work for people who have the 6 or the 7? Do you need to have the XR? Are you going to need to have the new model? Can you not get the cheap one? There's a lot of limitations to this that maybe we don't know yet. And so that's going to exclude a lot of people from
potentially,
this because,
No, it's true. I have the first iPad and I can get new games.
Yeah. I don't have a beefy iPad. I don't have a Mac computer, and my phone is generation 7. So it's kind of like I'm probably out the gate already, especially if you don't have a lot of hard drive storage on your phone. So, you look at the memory, some of those people with the older phones, I'm rocking at 32 and I'm already maxed out on pretty much everything. And I'm a basic guy. Like, I don't back up my photos all the time. I have music on my phone. I have apps that I don't use all the time, but I like to have them. And so there are features that help with that, like the offloading, where you can keep an app on your phone, but you just got to tap it and it downloads it again and stuff.
You got to have that NORAD Santa tracker for, the one time a year that you use it.
It's true, man. You got to know where he's at.
I use it. It's fun, dude. You look up on Christmas Eve and, hey, look, he's in Oregon. Oh, he's almost to Sean's house. It's awesome. No, here's the question.
You won't be here for 2 minutes.
Do you have an Apple TV?
I do, but here's the question.
It works on Apple TV as well.
Peripherals is what I'm worried about. I don't want to play on my remote. I have a hard enough time searching for TV shows on my remote. I don't know about you guys if you have an Apple TV, but it's not always perfect. Sometimes I even just pull up the remote app on my phone because I'm fed up with the TV. There's a lot of parts to this that are still big question marks for me. And of course, I'm the resident skeptic, and I get that. I'm certainly not trying to crap on it. I think it's going to be a really fun experience. But that being said, there's a reason why we're not big mobile gamers here at Level Down Games, and it's because typically in the past, the experience of playing them just hasn't been up to par with the others.
Right.
And so that's how are you going to measure up? How are you going to do it? And the first step in the right direction is getting exclusives, getting games made by real big time players. And hopefully this will encourage people to put more stuff out on these platforms. And maybe we'll see something that we didn't expect. Maybe Diablo Immortal will be on there and we could play it on the TV. I don't freaking know.
What's Diablo Immortal?
Do you have a phone?
Yeah, what is that?
It's that game that's coming out later this year that you can play on smartphones. You have a phone, Frank. Come on now. that you're right though. That would actually be a really smart thing to put on a service like this, because you would be bringing in a much more hardcore crowd that, if it works well,
the hardcore Mac gaming crowd.
The hardcore Diablo crowd that would be willing to stick around maybe if it works well.
You know, Hearthstone would fit perfectly into something like this.
Yeah.
You know, Magic the Gathering, that game that just came out. That's
the arena one.
I think it's the arena one. That's apparently very good. I haven't played it.
Yeah.
That could be something that could come out on something like this, where
maybe a new Flappy Bird.
New Flappy Bird.
There's a whole bunch of cool things that could come out. So maybe even reimaginings of old games that we like that were on mobile, they would fit well in this arena. They don't have to remake anything here. They can just come out with, you know, new things and be perfectly successful, but it just, the avenues are there. Now, whether or not they do it right, that remains to be seen. I think the crummy part about this whole experience is that you're going to run into a lot of limitations as far as how many consumers you can get. If there's so many players in the market, are you going to buy Amazon stuff? Are you going to have an Alexa, an Echo, whatever? Are you going to have all that to play their games with? Who knows? Do you
Frank
have Apple
Frank
TV?
already plays Skyrim on his Alexa.
You'll hear me
Alexa
saying that
slash.
You'll hear me say that word because she'll activate behind me.
Yeah, we actually have a video up on our YouTube channel of Frank messing around with Skyrim on Alexa. So check that out if you haven't seen it yet. But yeah, I really do think that Apple Arcade is something to keep an eye on. But I think the big question is, and what we really want to know is what you think. If you're out there listening to this, drop us a comment down below. Let us know if you're excited for Apple Arcade or if you're more excited for Google Stadia. Let's have a conversation. We'll be in the comments. We'll be interacting. And we just want to know what the general hype level is for Apple Arcade, because right now I am more hyped for this than I am Google Stadia. But neither one of them is more appealing to me than having a PS4 or an Xbox One or a Switch or a PC. Those still are much more appealing to me. So let us know what you think. Thanks for checking out a new episode of Flavor Text. If you enjoyed what you just heard, be sure to click that subscribe button and turn notifications on, leave a like, and drop a comment down below. We'll see you next time.